So thank you all for coming this morning. Scott Glew is the godfather of MorningStartup. Well, him and I started it about, was it 2-3 years ago?
It's about 2 years ago, yeah.
Yep, and basically it was probably for the same reasons that you're here this morning. Was we were looking for other people that were doing other like-minded things out in the community. We couldn't find anyone else, so we found each other and had a coffee and invited some other people, and before you know it, we've got all you people here today, which is great. Scott's had an interesting journey. He now finds himself over in Seattle, so we're going to talk a little bit about how he came to be and how he came to be over there, and all the various challenges that he's had with his startup. He's gone through a few different mergers and partnerships and raising capital and the full spectrum. So we'd certainly invite questions and all those sorts of things. So if you'd like to welcome Scott, he's all the way over from Seattle for this morning. Probably here for the family and stuff as well.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You got to come back to visit family and friends and keep the family happy.
Yeah, good.
It's all good. But
we'll talk a bit about family in a little bit.
But before we get started, can I just say, holy shit, 75 people were registered for Morning Startup yesterday. Like, that's a far cry.
This has been recorded, so be careful. Profanities.
So what happens on YouTube with that?
Yeah. Stays on YouTube.
Right. I mean, like, the last one I went to was like maybe 15 people in a coffee shop in Seabee, and I've been watching from afar on Twitter as it grew from nearly 500 people on the meetup.com site, and it's just incredible. Like, would you say this is maybe the premier startup event in Perth?
It's one of, yeah.
Come on,
I
think it's the premier.
It's the premier weekly or fortnightly event for sure.
It's a fortnightly event that starts at 7:30.
Yeah, it starts at 7:30.
Well done everyone for getting up so early. Yeah. But like, hats off to you and Justin and Patrick for bringing it in to what it is today. Come on, guys.
Well, it has been a while. In fact, the last blog post that you wrote was about this place when it had its old name, which was
The Hub.
The Hub.
The Hub.
Perthhub.org.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. So I'm glad you got to see it.
Yeah, this is a great space.
So tell us a bit about the first 10 years. What did you study at uni? Did you go to uni?
Yeah, I did. So when I was in high school, I actually was a guitar teacher. That was my first, foray into the working world. My mother was a guitar teacher, and she kind of got me into it when I was maybe 11 or 12. And by the time I was, I just loved it. Got into metal and electric guitar, and just loved it. And sooner or later, my mum she had a bit of overflow. She was teaching guitar, and she said, "Hey, I've got these kids. They need some lessons. Do you want to get into it?" So I kind of said, "Yeah, I'll teach a few." And before too long, I was teaching between 20 to 30 students a week. Charging $15 to $20 for a half-hour session, and I think $30 to $40 an hour was a pretty good wage for a 15-year-old kid 20 years ago. So I had friends at department stores and whatnot, and I was able to work the same amount of hours and earn almost 4 times as much. So I was like, this is all right. You don't actually have to go and get a job. You can do something you love and earn a lot of money. So that was really cool. But I was still brought up in the whole mentality of go to uni, get a real job. So I went to uni, did a commerce degree, majored in marketing and management. Didn't drop out of uni, actually completed it. But I think I probably spent more time at uni trying to be a rock star and messing around in bands and spending more time at the Murdoch Uni pub than I did actually studying. But I still managed to graduate, and then coincidentally when I finished uni, my dad he decided to go out on his own and start a marketing, PR, advertising company. So he'd been working in the top PR companies in Perth for a long time and doing hardcore issues management and crisis management for big companies, and just got sick of working for other people. I think so he started his own company, and because I just finished uni in that area, he gave me a job. So I worked in advertising, just sort of running the advertising arm of the business, which I got to learn a whole lot about the printing, 4-color printing process, because back in those days it was all print and magazines and newspapers. And yeah, I just learnt a lot about the production process of placing ads and getting them graphically designed, and learnt all the Adobe tools.
So we haven't heard anything about computers just yet?
No.
Were you into computers? Did you study a bit of...
I use computers for what I had to do at uni, writing essays and things, but I never really got into them as such. But when I started in advertising, I did get into the Adobe programs and graphic design, and really loved that. But I guess the big thing was, after I worked there for a couple of years, me and my girlfriend's wife now, we decided to go travelling around the world. We did the round the world trip, went to America, travelled through Canada and Europe and the UK. And I just met a whole load of people in IT that were just travelling around as well, living the way they wanted, earning bucket loads of money. And I thought, you know what, I don't mind the computers thing. I might give that a go when I get home. So got home eventually and did a graduate diploma in information systems, which was like a 1-year crash course in IT. I learned a bit of programming, a bit of databases, a bit of system analysis, design, and I also did my Cisco Certified Network Associate thing. It's a certificate from Cisco. And I actually wanted to be a network engineer. So I graduated from that crash course, full on wanting to do network engineering. But then this job came along with a company called WebSpy, and they were advertising for a technical writer. So, writing help files and manuals for software, and they were kind of a cool company for Perth. They were doing software to help companies manage their internet and kind of check out what employees were doing online.
Spy.
As the name suggests, a lot of it was for the whole user investigations and see what some guy was doing online, and if he was looking at porn. I mean, that was a big problem back in the late 90s.
Still is, I believe.
That's right. Yeah, it's crazy. So, I started writing. I got that job, and...
so how big was WebSpy at that stage? What year was this?
This was 2000.
Okay.
No, sorry, 2001 was, just after 2001. So the tech bubble thing had just kind of...
Yeah. And how long had you been... How long had you spent in advertising? So what age are you at?
Oh, okay. Oh, shit, what age was I? This was 2000 when I went to uni, or 2001 when I went to uni for the grad dip. It was 2000 when I went travelling, and sort of 2002 when I started at WebSpy.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever that is now.
And so how many employees roughly was in WebSpy? How many people?
It kind of was. Well, there was probably about 20 to 30 people at WebSpy. They raised a bucket load of money for the initial tech bubble thing. And there was also two companies in one. They also had another company called Netlink Inspection Systems, which did software for the oil and gas industry to help them inspect pipelines under the ocean. So, in fact, my tech writing job was first on that product, sort of writing how to use this inspection software. And then I started writing on the...
So you got a love of IT through writing technical manuals? Is that what you said?
Well, it's funny, like when you're writing technical manuals, you get a really in-depth look at how the product works. If you're writing, in one side of the software you're saying, step 1, click on this button to do X. And then on another part of the software you're saying, step 1, click over here and do this to do X. Then you get this kind of, hang on, that doesn't quite work. And so from there I kind of went into project management and just managing the software projects and specifying the features and saying, laying out how it would work. I called myself a project manager at the time, but I guess it was really product management.
You were into UI and UX before it was UI and UX.
I wish I was. I certainly could have learnt a lot from the whole UX thing that's going around now. But back in the day, it was really just how do I schedule programmers to get this product out on time, and the actual, the design of the software kind of took a bit of a back step in those days. So, which is something we've, just completely flipped our heads on for this latest product.
So, okay, you're at WebSpy, you've moved your way up into project management. Life's pretty good, pretty cushy. You've been there for a few years now. You've obviously made the switch successfully over to IT. Now you decide to start this other company? Is that what happened? Give us
Yeah.
a picture as to how that transition, and
So,
why you made that leap, or how you made that leap.
so at the end of WebSpy, there was a merger with another company called Market Boomer, and they were just completely unrelated to anything we did. They did hotel. Yeah. So if you've got a cafe or a restaurant in a hotel, they helped them purchase their groceries and the cucumbers and stuff at the cheapest local price. So anyway, words about synergy and things got bandied around, but I think it was really just to help them get listed, because WebSpy was an ASX listed company. Anyway, there was this merger and it didn't go too well. So people started leaving WebSpy. The CEO left, and then the marketing manager left, and then the lead developer left, and I'm sitting there going, holy shit, all my friends have left. So I left as well, with full intent to do freelance web development for there were a few projects going at the time. But yeah, soon after I left, Jack Andrews, who was the CEO of WebSpy, and Luke Arnold, who was the lead developer, and me, we got together and just saying, let's do something. So we kicked around a few ideas and basically landed on this idea to, from all of our WebSpy knowledge, there was this product that Microsoft produced called Microsoft Threat Management Gateway, TMG, which is like a web security gateway that lots of companies use. Because of the way Microsoft licensing works, there's lots of companies with Microsoft licensing agreements, and they get this product for free. And so they use it to manage their internet. Do URL filtering, block and filter people going to websites and that sort of stuff. So WebSpy made, it generated reports on this TMG product, but there was nothing that did it in real time. There was nothing that monitored this product and the internet usage in real time and gave a network administrator a good real-time view of what's happening right now on the network. So we kind of just kept coming back to this idea. We knew there was a lot of customers out there that wanted it. We just kind of went ahead and started creating that.
Okay, so you make it sound really easy, but we all know that there's a little bit more to it than that. Obviously, you need to find some money. Is your girlfriend now your wife at this stage?
Yeah.
So the polish has gone off the world trip that you took on, I'd imagine. And life's getting serious. You're looking at mortgages and all that sort of stuff. What was family life? Obviously she's pretty supportive of the whole
scene. I'm really fortunate to have the best and most supportive wife in the world for all of this stuff. Family life was pretty good. It's always okay if you've got a paycheck coming through the door, I guess, but as soon as you don't have that paycheck coming through the door, things start getting very, very strange. But we were fortunate that when we started Fastvue, which is this new company, it was kind of funded from day one. Jack, who was the CEO of WebSpy, put up an initial round of funding just to allow us to pay the bills for about 4 months while we kicked this project off. So that was cool. And although we soon discovered that we needed more runway, as you do, than 4 months.
So what year did you kick this off? What year did Fastvue
What year?
start?
2011.
Okay.
Yeah, around March 2011.
Okay, so you get to midway through 2011 and you've burnt through that first 4 months of bankrolling by Jack.
Yep.
What happens?
So fortunately, we had a backup.
Do you have a bit of cash coming through the door, or?
Not at that stage. No, we were still coding the first product, so we had nothing. But one of Jack's mates came to the rescue, and we convinced him that it was a really good idea, and he managed to again pay enough money for us to pay the bills for about another 8 months. Okay. So that took the pressure off, and we kept coding. Well, so we thought. We thought we had 8 months. It was always the goal to move to the US when we started Fastvue, because we knew at WebSpy all of our customers are there. And it was so hard just trying to work in real time with those customers as far as sales and support goes from Perth. You're up at midnight or you get up at 6 a.m. to do a demo, and you can only hit one customer on that kind of time frame. So we figured if we're going to have a proper shot at this, we need to be in the US. So as part of all of that funding that we got, we definitely sectioned off a bit of it to move both Jack and myself to the Bay Area. Now, Jack moved successfully. He was kind of in. He moved about 6 months before I did, so there was funding there. Yeah, Tino. And then I moved in. Was scheduled to move in December of 2011, and we had our visa interview appointment, and it was a funny moment. We're just like super nervous because I'd heard all of these horror stories about people getting their visas denied if they've got a significant ownership in the company. So I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to have to explain myself and the company and all that sort of stuff, which was fine. I was happy to do. But the best words were, okay, your visas have been approved. I was like, yes. So me and my wife are getting out of the interview just super excited, and then on the same day we hear from our second investor that some of his other investments had gone bad and he was unable to give us the remaining of the funding that we had. So basically all the funding that was there to move ourselves to the States had kind of just shriveled up and gone away. So we're now sitting there in our house with people lined up to rent our house, and we were mentally in the US, and all of a sudden we just weren't going anymore. So that really sucked. But fortunately I've got a really awesome father-in-law, and he saw that we were just hurting, and he came to the rescue, and he paid us, he gave us some money to get ourselves to the US, pay for flights and the shipping of our house to get over there.
So you have ownership in Fastvue?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what the arrangement is? Or?
So we split it equally between the three founders, between me and Jack, myself and Luke. And then when the second investor, and we've since had another investor since they've come on board, we've had to give up some equity for that. But we've tried to keep it really low by doing loan arrangements rather than equity arrangements. So we still own a majority of Fastvue.
Okay, so just sticking with the money stuff, obviously you've gone through family, friends and fools at this stage.
Yes.
Have you gone outside of that now and gone to raise funds off other groups? I know Matt had a few questions about raising money and those sorts of things. Have you had to do that yet?
We've always wanted to get to the point where we were profitable and we could just live off revenue and grow organically. We hate raising money, and so the money we've raised has all been from private, friendly parties, and I think that's just the best way to go. The deals are easy. It's like you can convince them to that it's a good idea, and they're happy to put in money, and you've got a relationship. But with going down the VC route
can be a stressful thing.
Oh, mate, it can be a really stressful thing. It's for sure. But I don't know. We didn't really want to give up 30% of the company to a VC firm and have to answer to them every month and all that, and when we haven't needed to so far. So we always wanted to get to the product to a level that it could sustain us and pay the bills and a bit more.
One of the queries that we had was about family. You've got little kids?
I do.
How old are they?
5 and 7.
5 and 7, both boys?
They are, yep.
Yep, good.
Boys.
Glad I recognised that. So obviously 5-7 years ago, that sort of correlates with when you were starting all this sort of stuff off. A little bit after, actually. But obviously the little kids, the little babies still at that stage, it's one of the major pressures that gets talked about when people are talking about starting things is mortgages, kids, family, wives, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And husbands.
Yeah.
Sorry. They're huge pressures. How did you juggle that sort of stuff? And a startup isn't a 9 to 5. It's
well, the good thing about it is I was working from home 100% of the time, had a home office, so I got to see my family a lot. I wasn't like it was actually better than I was when I was doing a 9 to 5, because I wasn't doing a 9 to 5. I'd be doing a 10-hour day at Web Spy or something. So I'd get home late and just enough time to see the kids go to bed. So it's been awesome just living at home and that sort of things. I guess the bigger question is, how do you afford to pay your mortgage and raise kids when you're trying to do a startup? And we've been very fortunate to have funding from day one. I don't know. I'd like to say that I would have done it had there not been kind of a safety net there, but I don't know if I really would have. But we still had that 4 months of runway, and 4 months isn't a long time when you've got a mortgage and stuff. But you just think, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? I'll have to get another job. Yeah, whatever.
That's good for you, but how about your wife with 2 little kids? Does she have the same sort of attitude? Cause
she did. Well, yeah, as I said, if you got that paycheck coming through the door.
In the relationship usually. And
Yeah.
That's not you.
Yeah, my wife. Nah, she's very sane. But if you got the paycheck coming through the door, things are cool. I guess for us, when we moved to the States and we borrowed money from her dad, and we had no extra funding coming in, it all dried up. We found ourselves in a foreign country with no health coverage, healthcare, which is a major deal in the US. No credit rating. Fortunately, my brother-in-law was there. His wife works for Chevron, so they were 3 hours south of the bay in Bakersfield. And so we hung out with them for a month while we were there. And that was probably the most stressful time because we didn't know where the next paycheck was coming or if it was coming. So we got there, we fortunately released the products by that stage. Like I literally put out a mail out as I landed in LAX, just saying, hey, the product's now done, come and buy it. And the very next day we took our first order. We got to the US and I had a job to do, and there's nothing like putting a friggin' fire under your feet to make sure it gets done.
Yeah.
But we were also successful in raising from another friend of Jack's a bit of cash to see us through another 3 months. So that allowed us to, because we're just burning through savings at this point, so it allowed us to buy a car and get ourselves settled in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
But that was the most stressful time as far as family life goes, because there was that uncertainty and it was kind of crazy, but we're just kind of forced into it.
Yeah, well, I remember that time because that's where we first sort of met up, and you were running around like a crazy man. And I thought, who is this guy? Does he even know what he's doing? He's going to America. He doesn't know where his cash is coming from and all those sorts of things. But you managed to get over there. You managed to move the family over there.
Uh-huh.
You go to San Francisco because that's the mecca of everything.
It's like, why not?
Why not? But now you find yourself in Seattle.
Yeah.
So it's not far up the road, but it is a little bit up the road.
It's
So how
flight.
did you find yourself?
Well,
Why?
Apparently, it's really freaking expensive to live in the Bay Area. I'm not your typical,
So what
20-something.
were the reasons that you wanted to go to the Valley, apart from it obviously being Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
Like, were there actual business reasons, were there business goals that you were setting out to achieve with respect to, obviously, it doesn't sound like raising capital was one of them, but making partnerships or connections, or
There was a little bit of that.
why that?
Again, the main reason to move to the US was to be in the same time zone as our customers. But there was a potentially big partner there in Fremont in the Valley. So, and there's a few other companies that we're going to potentially do work with that are located in the Valley as well. So, and it was just kind of like, we're moving to America, where should we choose? Let's go there, because it is the tech center, and it's an awesome place to be. There's a smorgasbord of things like this on every day of the week. So yeah, as far as a developer goes, it's awesome. You can go and meet up with people on Node or Ruby or JavaScript or whatever.
So you land in the Valley, you get there, you realise this stuff's expensive. How long do you sort of sit it out before moving to Seattle?
We were there for a year. Yeah.
Okay.
We're in. So what we did is, I'm not the typical guy that can go and live in a share house with 10 other people because I've got a family and 2 kids. So we wanted a house with preferably a yard, and I was also going to work from home, so I didn't want the kids on top of me. So we wanted kind of a 3 or 4 bedroom house. You can't get that in San Francisco. You can get a 2 bedroom apartment, or if you want to get a 4 bedroom place, you're looking at $7,000 a month in rent, something crazy. So that was kind of, we ended up going an hour out of San Francisco in a place called San Ramon, which is where Chevron have their headquarters and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know, an hour commute into the city to go to anything, and it was also an hour to the Valley as well. I mean, to put it into perspective, if Perth is San Francisco, then Rockingham, Mandurah is Silicon Valley, and I was kind of living in Rolling Stone, I guess. So, are there any Rolling Stone people here? Cool, getting up this early. this work? So yeah, I don't know. It just kind of got a little bit draining, and we were still paying a lot in rent just to live there. And my co-founder Jack, he was down in Cupertino, and we wanted to be close together. We were an hour apart. We both have kids. They were getting on really well, so we thought, well, let's move close together. Looked around the Bay Area, and there's nowhere really that we were happy with good schools and good houses. So we expanded our search outside of the Bay Area and ended up in Seattle. I mean, Seattle's an awesome tech city. It's home to Microsoft and Amazon, other cool startups like Zillow, and there's a bunch of other big companies like T-Mobile. And, there's a lot of engineering talent in Seattle, and it's awesomely beautiful. For the same amount of money that we're paying in rent in San Ramon in this kind of boxed-in little house, we now have a view of a lake and snow-capped mountains and an awesome backyard with a playground for the kids, and it's just awesome.
I hope you've got a
Loving
big
it.
couch because you're really selling it to us. Okay.
Yeah, anyone's welcome, anytime.
Cool. So you and Jack have now moved to Seattle?
Yep. So we're now
And-
6 minutes from each other, and 6 minutes from the Microsoft campus as well. Not that that matters, but
Very good.
Yeah.
And how are things with Fastvue? Are you now cash flow positive, or are you still sort of
yeah.
getting there? Or
So back in back in August, there was a massive hit to us, and that was Microsoft announced that they were discontinuing this threat management gateway product that we built our entire product around. It wasn't a surprise. It had been kind of rumoured for about a year that this was on the cards, and it was always our plan to move our software onto other platforms like Cisco and some other guys that did the same stuff. So Microsoft discontinued that, and we were like, well, that announcement's come a lot earlier than we expected. So what we did is we actually purchased WebSpy back, the company that we left 2 years before we went and bought them. So it was a good way of just diversifying our product base to other vendors. Gave us a lot of extra revenue. I mean, we went from tens of thousands of dollars a month with the Fastvue product to hundreds of thousands of dollars a month with the WebSpy product in there as well. So that just made a lot of sense.
Presumably
There was overhead, so there was definitely some employees that came on board, but we knew that we could run the business because we'd done it before. There were also some efficiencies that we could take on because it was still an ASX listed company, and there's a lot of overhead that goes along with that. So we purchased it into a private company run by us. We managed to a bit reluctantly, we got rid of some staff, and just ran it more efficiently, and it worked out.
So Fastvue and WebSpy are pretty well positioned now with you guys over there and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, it's we've had a great last few months. There's a lot of liabilities and things that came over from purchase of WebSpy.
So
tax debts,
WebSpy
and we
is
just
still
paid all that off.
So everyone's still here with WebSpy in Australia?
So Luke, the co-founder of Fastvue, he didn't move to the US, so he's still in Perth. There's also a sales guy in Perth. We had a sales guy in Brisbane who actually looked after the European region. He moved himself to Brisbane on his own bat a few years earlier. And we got a sales guy in the US, and then there's us three founders.
Okay.
Oh, and another developer in Perth as well.
Yeah. Right. And that they look after WebSpy as well?
Yeah. So we're all kind of one family now, looking after the whole product range. But I still try and keep away from the WebSpy side as much as I can because it's an older legacy product and it can really suck you in as far as customer support and just time goes. So I want to work on the shiny new stuff and work on the future of Fastvue rather than getting dragged down into the old.
They don't even use your manuals anymore, do they? Terrible.
Well, we are trying to get away from user manuals.
So what's your future look like? What's your timeline if you sort of give us a...
So the first step for us is to get away from this Microsoft TMG product, where we've got a few more products coming out in the next month or two. It's going to be next 3 or 4 as these things go. But so that's on the Fastvue code base, which is now like our premier code base that we're pulling everything on. It's faster, awesome. So that's stage 1, getting away from TMG on the Fastvue code. But after that, there's a lot of what we do is actually determining what people are doing online or their productivity online. And at the moment it's kind of used for like a user policing for HR, looking at what did this guy do last week, was he looking at nasty stuff. But without going too much into it, we're looking at sort of that quantified self for enterprises. So helping the final employee actually manage their online behaviour a bit better. Like people, those jawbone bracelets and Fitbits and things are getting really popular, and people have these online tools to help them work more efficiently and exercise more efficiently and all that stuff. So we aim to be that for online productivity. There's 100 apps that will close Facebook for you if you've been on it for too long, but they're all personal apps and you install them, whereas putting that in the enterprise is kind of an interesting place to go.
Yeah, quantified self is a very interesting subject around increasing your own productivity and quantifying what you do to yourself. So,
yeah, and I think if people had the ability to self-manage that rather than just knowing that their manager was looking at what they were doing, it could be definitely more effective. But there's 100 other things that we want to do as well.
So you're over there for the long haul for the next few years? Or?
Yeah, well, part of being back here is to renew my 2-year E3 visa, which is a whole other story. But that's so yeah, I'll be there for at least another 2 years and see how things go from there.
Great. All right. Thank you very much, Scott. That's great.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Might grab some questions if anyone has any questions to Scott about different aspects of getting over to the States and having a hardware, software business, all those sorts of things.
Your exit strategy. Do you have any exit strategy at this moment?
Well, ideally we'd like to be acquired at some stage. Yeah, that'd be cool. But in the short term, we're just trying to build revenue and make a real company out of it. We're not really looking at exiting anytime soon. Yeah.
Did you learn any lesson from building a product that's based on somebody else's product with what happened with Microsoft? Is that going to change the way you do things?
Yeah, so kind of. We had a lot of, even though Microsoft discontinued TMG, it's still going really strong. I think Microsoft is supporting it until 2020 anyway, through extended support. So we've kind of had the two products. Like WebSpy was a generic log file analysis application that you had to jump through a lot of hoops to get the report that you wanted and put fields in the right place. And so we weren't building on top of anyone else's platform with that, but I don't think it was as successful because it wasn't as streamlined for a specific purpose. Whereas with TMG, we were able to develop a product around it. We'd make a lot of assumptions. And so people just had to say, there's my TMG server, hit go, and then there's cool reports showing you what you want. And so we sold a lot of product that way just because it was nice and streamlined. So we're actually taking that strategy to some other products to do the same thing, make it nice and streamlined. I mean, yeah, they might go away, but we'll just have to pivot and keep peeling more products off. And we're still kind of in that testing phase. So we'll see if the next product is as successful as TMG Reporter. And if not, we'll do something else. But definitely, yeah, it was a big blow when they discontinued it. And did make us think maybe we should be more generic or something.
Yeah.
It's working well so far.
Thanks a lot for speaking to us.
Pleasure, mate.
I'm more interested in the stage where you move from marketing into IT itself, and you said you did the graduate diploma for a year, so you obviously picked up a bit of knowledge there. But at the time, you would have been competing with people who had been sitting in front of a computer from when they were, 13, 14, and learning code and doing all these things. So how did you get yourself to a point where you were able to sell yourself as an IT professional?
Right.
How long did that take you, and did you go any express roads that you could recommend to anybody such as myself?
That's a really good question. Nerdiness is all relative, I've discovered. Like my family and friends always come to me to help fix their freaking printers and things. But, then I look at Luke, the lead developer, and he's just insane. He wrote his first program when he was like 4 years old, and he just lives and breathes it. And you just can't compete with that when you pick it up when you're in your 20s. So when I got into IT, as I said, when I went to uni, I loved it. I did really well. It was like straight HDs, and I just had a different mindset when I went back and did my grad dip, and I just got right into it. But my first job wasn't really programming or anything. It was technical writing. So I really drew on that skill of being able to write, and then got into project management of software projects. I wasn't, again, doing any coding, but a part of that was updating the company website. So I got into HTML and CSS, and it wasn't really until I started Fastvue that I really got into JavaScript in a big way and started coding. But I was also doing ASP.NET back at WebSpy as well. I just kind of got into it slowly and did enough to make things work. Like if I actually went through or showed my code to real programmers, they would just vomit all over it. But it kind of is functional and it works. But yeah, so now I call myself a front-end web developer, but I know that there's, especially being in the Bay, there's just nutcases that just anyway.
So basically there's no express lane in.
There's no express. Just, try and get into it any way you can, and you're never too old to start, and just make things and just make it work. I mean, with GitHub and things these days, there hasn't been an easier time to get into programming because there's so much code that's just readily available. You can literally copy and paste things into your app to make things work, and you just start learning and just make things, I guess, is the best advice.
What was the primary way you got your customers?
So that's a good question too. We SEO really from the start. We also did some advertising on some key sites because we were so focused and so niche on TMG. SEO was really cheap because if people are searching for TMG reporting, it's a cheap keyword. We're able to really dominate the SEO, and then we just through blogs, we got a lot of people that were Microsoft MVPs to write articles for us on our own website. So we generated a lot of content on our site, so it naturally got organic rankings. But we advertised on a site called isaserver.org. ISA was the previous name for TMG, and had a really prominent ad on that site, and that gave us a lot of hits through there. And just optimizing the web page to make people download and make people buy, and that was the primary way of getting customers. Kevin, how you doing, buddy?
Apart from the time zone advantages of being over in the US, you probably had some preconceived when we're there, it's going to avail of us contacts and whatever you thought being there. When you arrived, what have been the big things that you said, okay, being in the US has these advantages, not just the time zone?
So for me personally, being in the US and being in the Bay Area was just the incredible amount of things going on that I could attend and learn. And there was also a few partners that we went and spoke to, and they were in the Bay Area, and we were able to just catch up for beers with people that were, and just develop those relationships a lot easier than we could in Perth. I mean, in Perth, previously at WebSpy would do a trade show over in the States, and we'd get all this excitement, and then we'd come back to Perth and things would just fizzle out. But actually being there and just being able to catch up with people for coffee, and that was probably the big advantage. But definitely being in the time zone was awesome. So when someone picked up the phone and said, I want to buy your software, we could answer them right away, rather than being that 12-hour delay. Yeah.
So what's your role now in Fastvue? Is it like you mentioned you're are you the front-end developer? Are you the sales guy?
Yeah, all of the above. I am the front-end developer, and I also just try and... I'm also the main product support guy. So if someone rings up with a problem, I get on the phone and help them out. So a lot of my time, I guess, is spent just talking to customers and getting going. I also, put the website together and do all of the download leads and analytics and try and get all the internal stats that we need to actually know that we're moving forward. Kind of just all that. I mean, there's only 3 co-founders, and we all kind of just do whatever we need. But I guess as far as the core product goes, I do the front end stuff.
Have you ever had any like other idea that like being entrepreneurial and that kind of thing? You know, even amongst your co-founders, you guys have thought, oh, wow, this would be an awesome idea, and that's kind of almost been a bit distracting, or you've had to wrestle against. Let's just focus on this and get this happening.
I mean, just in Fastvue itself, there's a million different directions we could actually take it. So we're always just internally wrestling with where we should actually focus our energy. And yeah, all of us are always coming up with other ideas just as we encounter problems, like, you know, putting customer testimonials on our website. People are emailing us saying this product's awesome, but actually getting their approval to put that on our website is a pain in the ass. It's a manual process. So I think maybe there's an easier way. And yeah, you come up with these ideas and
how do you stay focused then on like that?
I was reading something today where, you know, when you're a startup founder or something, the best thing is being your own boss. But it's not really, because you still spend 100% of your time answering. You know, it's not like I just decide I'm going to spend time on sales today or spend time on front-end web development today. You've got people that are coming to you with problems and you have to deal with that. So, yeah, as far as staying focused, it is hard. I actually find myself being reactive to a lot of things that just need doing in Fastvue. And in fact, I don't get time to work on all the other projects that I'd love to work on. So it's not a big deal. I have to work in Fastvue on a 9 to 5.
Just the three of you guys. What's the company size? What are the other people?
It's 5.5 people total right now. Yeah.
What are the roles? What's the breakdown?
So Jack is biz dev sales. He heads up that side of things. I head up the product, everything to do with product. Luke is the developer, hardcore programmer. And then we have 2 sales guys, one in Australia, one in the US. And we also have a part-time support dev role as well, just looking after the Web Spy product. Yeah.
Yeah, in the lead up to moving to the US, what was the mindset around that? Because, you know, was it a pure sort of leap of faith, you know, high risk sort of manoeuvre, or was it a sort of well-researched competitor analysis, customer research? A bit of a,
yeah, I wouldn't say it was well-researched, but we knew anecdotally that, you know, from working 8 years at WebSpy, that that's where the customers were, and we knew that they got frustrated having to deal with a Perth-based company. And yeah, so yeah, we knew that moving ourselves over there was the best thing to do for the company as far as kicking things off, because we needed to get as many customers as we could short term. We couldn't, you know, risk having that 12-hour delay in getting customers. So, and it was kind of exciting too. It was like my brother-in-law was over there, and so as far as my wife and family were concerned, they were more willing to move to the US. I think if they weren't there, it might have had more of a battle, but we had a bit of a base there and some, you know, a connection. So that made it a lot easier. But yeah, it wasn't terribly well researched, but we think it was a good thing to do, and it's hard to actually say yes, that was the best thing to do, but I'm pretty sure it was.
Do you think you were onto something that no one else was onto, or were there potential competitors?
At the time, so the market kind of consisted of like freeware, shareware tools, utilities to do what we were doing, or hundreds of thousands of dollars for a large-scale enterprise application. I mean, the free things kind of fell over when you put any sizable data through it. So, you know, we thought we'd come on the market with a really nicely designed product with a great user experience that was affordable, you know, and yeah, it seemed we hit that market on the head.
For a startup moving to Seattle, San Francisco, what do you think the best resources are to get started once you're there? Is there a particular name that comes up, or
his couch?
Any place? Yeah, apart from his couch.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Oh, well, I mean, there's just so many things. Go to meetup.com, search whatever you're into, and go to things. And, you know, companies themselves are putting up events. There's just community events around every technology you can imagine. Just go to everything and get really good at networking, and you'll meet the right people. Try and meet founders of companies that have sold their company or raised money, and they'll help you make introductions to VCs and angels, and just get there and just network.
What do you guys outsource, and has that changed as the business has evolved? And do you have any sort of key partners that really support you? Has that changed from Australia to the US?
So outsourcing as far as products that we use to run our own business, or
well, anything admin or support?
develop. So we never outsource development. We horror stories of outsourcing dev. So we've kept that all internal. But we use hundreds of other products for various means, just to, I don't know if that really classifies as outsourcing, but to run our accounts, we use things like FreshBooks and Xero and Google Apps, and it's not like we've done a bit of in-house coding just to get some internal metrics and things, but we don't really outsource staff, I guess. We've kept that close. If that answers your question.
In a previous answer, you mentioned networking. How important has that been to your business success?
For the business, I can't really say it's been. We haven't been to. We're not there to raise money or get angel investment or anything like that. So.
What about for sales? Networking for sales.
Sales. Again, our customers are all dispersed throughout the world. There's a lot in the US, but actually the number of our customers in the Bay Area were kind of small. So it's not like we could just go out to an event and meet our customers and do sales. It's been more from a professional development point of view and learning cool things. That networking has been good for me in the Bay Area.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
No worries, thank you.